Welcome back to Tila's Fashion. Today's video is going to be a tutorial on these straight leg trousers with a side zip. This is one of the easiest ways to make a trouser, so make sure to hit the subscribe button, like and share this video, and let's get right into it. I have one trouser length of this stock fabric and I folded it in two so I can cut the two front pieces, and here I'm subtracting 1.5 inches from the full length and putting down whatever I get, and the 1.5 inch is going to be for the band, the trouser band. After putting down the full length, that is minus the 1.5 inch for the band, I'm going to go ahead to add 2.5 inches for the bottom seam allowance. So because this is a female trouser, I'm going to go ahead to take out 1 inch at the top there to just give it some shape, and I'm extending it towards the hips. And I'm just measuring 7 inches because that is where my hip point is, and I'm just going to connect that to it. Next, I'm going to take my waist circumference and divide it by 4. Whatever I get, I'm going to add 1 inch first, and the 1 inch will be the allowance for the dart, and then add another 1 inch for seam allowance. So I'm adding 2 inches in total. Next thing I'm going to do is to measure the crouch depth, and most times how I get this is to divide the hip by 4. So after dividing my hip measurements by 4, I have 9.5 inches. So instead of putting down the 9.5 inches, we took out 1.5 inch for the band. So I'm also going to take out 1.5 inch from this crouch depth before putting down the measurements. So whatever measurements we're taking in length, I'm going to minus that 1.5 inch for the band. And then next, I'm going to take the lap circumference and divide it by 2. And whatever I get, I'm going to add 1/2 inch seam allowance to it. Then I went ahead to curve out the crouch, and now I'm taking the bottom measurement and I want it to be 9 inches wide. So I marked out 9 inches. Here I'm measuring out the half length or the knee length, and I measured this to be 21 inches. And I went ahead to just shaping out the trouser and cut it out. Next, I'm going to take this and place it again on the rest of the fabric so I can cut the 2 back pieces. And a way to manage your fabric is, instead of cutting it the same way you cut the front piece, you flip it over so the top is at the bottom and the bottom is at the top. This way you actually save a lot of fabric. So now I'm just going to go ahead to use this to cut out the back piece. First thing I'm going to do is to extend the waist by 1 inch, and I'm going to mark that out. Next, I'm going to go ahead to extend the lap by 1.5 inch, and that way I can form the crouch for the back piece. And I'm also going to extend the center back by 2 inches upwards and connect that to the sides. And I'm doing all these extensions so that we could create space for the butt, because the front part of your trousers is usually flat, but the back side you need to create space to accommodate for the hips. I'm also taking that 1.5 extension that we took at the hips throughout the length of the legs, and I'm just going to cut out this back piece. And with the way I cut the trousers, how I manage the fabric, you can see that I still have some fabric left for the band, for the pockets if you are going to be attaching pockets, or for the fly zipper if you want a fly zipper. And you can use this area that I'm cutting out here for the fly zipper if you're interested in that. I have a tutorial on my page if you want to see how to create a fly zipper on a trouser like this, but for this particular style I'm going to be putting the zip at the side. Next, I'm just going to go ahead to mark out the dart, and I'm taking 4 inches away from the center front and 4.5 inches away from the center back. And instead of just marking, I'm also notching it so I know where exactly that would be. So at the end of this, I have 4 trouser pieces, 2 for the front and 2 for the back. So onto sewing, first thing I'm going to do is to sew the darts for the 4 pieces, and I made the darts to be 4 inches long. So normally I would go ahead to start with the zip, but since I'm fixing the zip on the side, I'll just go ahead to mark 4.5 inches for the zip so that I could exclude that part when I'm sewing the sides. Next, I'm going to go ahead to sew each leg of the zip. That is, I'm sewing one front piece to one back piece, one front piece to one back piece. And I'm going to sew both sides. That's the inner seam and the outer seam. And on the outer seam, I'm going to make sure that I exclude that 4.5 inch that I took on one side for the zip. And you also want to make sure that you iron as you go so that your work can be very neat. So next thing I'm going to do is to go ahead to join the two legs together by the crouch. So to join the crouch, I'm going to go ahead to start by taking the two front pieces, and I'm going to sew from there up till the back parts of the crouch. And I'm going to stop mid sewing the back parts, and you're going to see why after this. So this is what I have after joining, and you can see I didn't completely join the back part of the crouch. So I'm going to use these parts that's left to shaping up the hips. So to shaping up the hips, first I'm just going to use pins to secure the space for the zip allowance. Then I'm going to go ahead to measure the waist of the trouser, and then I'm going to compare that to the actual measurement of my waist and see how much space or seam allowance is left. So from there I'll know how much I am taking in at that center back to completely join the crouch. So after comparing my real waist measurement to the waist of the trouser, I realized that I still have 2 inches seam allowance left. So I'm just going to use that to shaping up the trouser. So now I can go ahead to sew that area. So this is what I have now after sewing, and you can see that it has given the hips some shape. Then I can go ahead to fix the band. So this is the band, and it is 2 inches on fold. I also made like a half an inch fold on one side of the band and half an inch extension on one side. So the part that is extended, I'm going to use that to sew onto the trouser, and the part that is folded, I'm going to use that to top stitch onto the trouser. And I also ironed like my interface into the band on one side to make it thicker. And the half an inch extension I made on one side, I marked out with chalk so that when I'm joining that side to the trouser, I can see like how much I'm supposed to join. So it just makes the work easier when attaching the bands to the trouser. And I made the band long enough for the waist of the trouser. So to sew the band onto the trousers, I'm flipping the trousers in a way that the wrong side of the trouser will be facing me, and I'm going to take the band and place the extended part on it, and I'm going to sew with the half an inch seam allowance that I took on the band. And marking out this seam allowance really helps with making your work easier and neater. And after sewing this, since we've already folded the other side of the band, it will just be easier to top stitch. So I'm just going to go ahead to fold it and place it on top of the seam that we've already made, and then I'm going to go ahead to top stitch it. And you can see that ironing the band before sewing it onto the trouser really just makes your work nice, flat and neat. So this is what I have now after joining the band onto the trousers, and I can go ahead to fix the zip now at the side. So I fixed the zip off camera because it's just the normal way that you would usually fix your zip. And then after that, you need to make sure that you weave your trousers to just make the insides neater. You can weave before you start sewing, and you can weave after you're done sewing. And then after doing that, you want to fold the bottom seam of the trouser. You can go ahead to sew the bottom, or you could use like hemming gum like I did, and then iron it to gum the seam. So if you're using this hemming gum, you just go ahead to fold the seam allowance and then place it in between, and then go ahead to iron it. So it's going to give you a neat finish. And this is the final product. Thank you so much for watching this video till the end. I hope it was helpful. If it was helpful in any way, please don't forget to like this video so it gets recommended to other people. Share to someone that might need this video, and go ahead to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment down below. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in my next video.